The day Marcus signed the divorce papers, he thought he had finally won. He believed he was throwing away a useless wife. What he didn't know was that he had just handed his entire life back to its rightful owner. Because the woman he humiliated in that conference room wasn't broke, she wasn't weak, and she definitely wasn't ordinary. This isn't just a divorce story. This is what happens when you mistake silence for weakness and marry the woman who owns the kingdom. The day the divorce papers were signed, silence was her only weapon. Marcus thought he was discarding a burden. He had no idea he was handing the keys to the kingdom back to its rightful owner. Because when Elena walked out of that law firm, she didn't get on a bus. She got into a car that Marcus couldn't even afford in his wildest dreams. This wasn't just a divorce story. It was a lesson in why you never judge a book by its cover, especially when that book owns the library. The conference room on the 42nd floor of the Sterling Holloway building was cold. Not the kind of cold that came from the weather, but the artificial kind, designed to seep into your bones, to make you uncomfortable, to make you want to leave. Elena sat on one side of the long mahogany table, her hands folded neatly in her lap. She wore a simple gray wool cardigan that had seen better days, and her dark hair was pulled back into a severe, practical bun. Against the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Seattle skyline, she looked small and unimportant. Across from her sat Marcus. Marcus in his tailored Italian suit. Marcus with the Rolex Submariner glinting under the recessed lights. Marcus with that look on his face, a mixture of triumph and pity. Beside him sat his lawyer, Arthur Higgins, a man who charged $600 an hour to dismantle lives without blinking. "Let's just get this over with, Ellie," Marcus sighed, glancing at his watch. "I have a reservation at Leonard at 7. Jessica gets cranky if I'm late." He didn't even try to hide it anymore. Jessica, the 23-year-old marketing intern he'd hired 6 months ago, the reason Elena was now staring at a document titled Dissolution of Marriage. Arthur Higgins nudged the papers toward her with the tip of his pen, as if touching them directly might contaminate him. "As discussed, Mrs. Vance," he said smoothly, "you will receive the 2018 Honda Civic, the contents of your personal savings account, which currently stands at $412, and a one-time settlement of $5,000 to assist with your transition." Marcus leaned forward and smiled, the same smile that had once made Elena believe he loved her. "I'm being generous, Ellie. The prenup was ironclad. You'd get nothing. But I'm giving you $5,000. That's enough for a studio apartment in the suburbs. Maybe you can even get your old job back at the diner." Elena didn't respond. She hadn't spoken a single word since entering the room. "Silence implies consent," Higgins muttered as he uncapped a heavy fountain pen. "Sign on the marked lines." Elena reached forward. Her hand didn't shake. There were no tears in her green eyes. She ignored Higgins' expensive pen and picked up the cheap plastic ballpoint meant for her. Scratch. Scratch. The sound echoed through the quiet room as she signed her name, Elena Vance. She paused, then looked up at Marcus. "What?" Marcus snapped, unsettled by her stare. "You did this to yourself. You stopped trying. You were boring." He gestured dismissively at her cardigan. "You don't fit in my world anymore. My company's going public. I need a wife who looks the part." Slowly, Elena placed the pen down. She reached into her pocket, removed her wedding ring, a thin gold band with a tiny chipped diamond, and placed it on the table. It made a soft, hollow clink. Marcus laughed. "Keep the $5,000. Buy yourself some new clothes." Elena stood, picked up her worn leather satchel, and turned toward the door. "Come on, Ellie," Marcus called after her mockingly. "Beg, cry." She stopped with her hand on the handle, turned her head slightly, smiled. It wasn't the smile of a broken woman. It was the smile of a predator. Then she walked out. "Weirdo," Marcus muttered. "Well, Arthur, that's done. Let's get a drink. I'm a free man." He had no idea how expensive that freedom was about to be. The elevator ride down was silent.
With every floor that passed, the slump in Elena's shoulders disappeared. When the doors opened to the lobby, the security guard nodded. "Rough day, Mrs. Vance." "It's Miss Sterling now," she said calmly. "Actually, just Elena." Outside, the Seattle rain came down hard. Marcus stepped out moments later, laughing with his lawyer under a large umbrella. "Hey," Marcus called loudly, "need bus fare?" He tossed a few quarters at her feet. Then the street fell quiet. A low hum rolled through the pavement as a midnight blue Rolls-Royce Phantom pulled into view. The car stopped directly in front of Elena. The driver stepped out, opened an umbrella, and bowed deeply. "Good afternoon, madam. Your father sends your regards." Marcus dropped his umbrella. The rear door opened. Elena stepped inside. As the Rolls-Royce pulled away, Marcus saw the license plate for the first time. No numbers, only a crest, the Sterling crest. As the Rolls-Royce disappeared into the curtain of rain, Marcus stood frozen on the sidewalk. His lawyer's face had gone pale. "Sterling?" Arthur whispered. "Marcus, what was her maiden name?" Marcus swallowed hard. "Vance. She told me it was Vance. L-E-S. I thought the S stood for Smith." Arthur looked at him like he'd just confessed to a crime. "You idiot. That wasn't Ellie Smith. That was Eleanor Sterling, the sole heir to Sterling Global Group." Marcus's knees buckled. "No, that's impossible." Arthur's voice dropped to a whisper. "Sterling Global just acquired Silicon Valley Bridge Bank this afternoon. The bank holding every one of your loans." Marcus collapsed to his knees in the rain. High above the clouds, the Gulfstream G650ER pierced through a sea of gold. Inside the cabin, everything was silent, refined, untouched by the chaos below. Elena stood before the full-length mirror in the private stateroom. The gray cardigan lay crumpled on the floor like shed skin. She unzipped a garment bag. Inside waited a perfectly tailored Alexander McQueen blazer and trousers that cost more than Marcus's car. When she stepped into the main cabin, Sebastian poured her a glass of Dom Perignon. "You look like yourself again, madam." She took a sip. "I feel like I've been asleep for 3 years. Sebastian opened a laptop. Marcus Vance, CEO of Vance Tech. He leveraged everything, his penthouse, his car, his future stock options. At 4:10 p.m., Sterling Global completed a hostile acquisition of his debt. Elena traced the downward graph with her finger. "He said I didn't fit into his world." Sebastian waited. "Trigger the clauses," she said. "Freeze the accounts. Audit everything." "Yes, madam." She paused. "And cancel his reservation at Leonard." Sebastian hesitated. "The restaurant?" "He missed our anniversary dinner to go there with his intern," Elena said calmly. "Cancel it." Back in Seattle, Marcus sat in his Porsche, rain pounding against the windshield. Jessica adjusted her reflection in the mirror. "Why are you so tense? This rain is ruining my hair." "Shut up," Marcus snapped. When he told her the truth, she blinked, unimpressed. "So she's rich? You can sue her. Alimony." "I paid her $5,000 to leave because I thought she was broke." His phone rang. Arthur's voice trembled. "Marcus, Eleanor Vance doesn't exist. Her identity was an alias. Her real name is Eleanora Victoria Sterling. Net worth $42 billion. The phone slipped from Marcus's hand. They arrived at Leonard anyway. The maitre d' didn't smile. "Your reservation has been cancelled." "I'm the account holder," Marcus snapped. "No," the man replied coolly. "Mrs. Eleanor Sterling is." People stared as security escorted Marcus out. Jessica yanked her arm free. "This is embarrassing." At Vance Tech headquarters, Marcus logged into his accounts. Access denied. Corporate funds frozen. Operating capital 0. The printer whirred. A single page slid out. A photo of a 2018 Honda Civic. Underneath, elegant text. "For your transition." By morning, the staff was gone. Investors refused calls. His name was blacklisted. The press ran the story first. Eleanor Sterling donates $100 million to domestic abuse charities following divorce. Marcus tried to spin the narrative. The journalist laughed. "She beat you to it," he said. "You're the villain. Twitter loves a comeback queen and hates a man who fumbled $42 billion. In the server room, the truth finally surfaced. "You didn't write the AI," the lead developer said quietly. "She did. Admin EV. Every night for 2 years. The licenses expired. The system began to collapse. She took the brain," Marcus whispered. He had one last option left. He had to beg. By Wednesday morning, Marcus Vance looked 10 years older. He hadn't slept. The office lights stayed on all night, but the building felt hollow. Rumors had spread fast. Payroll might not clear. Investors were pulling out, and Sterling Global had frozen every dollar. Marcus paced his office, phone pressed to his ear. "Jim, listen to me. I just need a bridge loan.
Jim, listen to me, he begged. I just need a bridge loan. 200 grand. I'll pay you back double after the IPO. On the other end, Jim Reynolds sighed. Marcus, you're on the Sterling blacklist. What blacklist? Marcus shouted. They can't control the whole market. They are the market, Jim said quietly. If I help you, they pull funding from my firm. I have a family. Don't call me again. The line went dead. Marcus hurled his phone across the room. It shattered against the wall and slid across the floor, stopping at the polished shoes of Arthur Higgins. Arthur looked wrecked. His tie was loose, his voice hoarse. We have one move left, he said. Public opinion. Marcus looked up, eyes bloodshot. What? We go to the press, Arthur said. Billionaire deceives hard-working husband. We paint you as the victim. She'll pay to keep it quiet. Hope flickered. 20 minutes later, they sat in a dim dive bar across from investigative journalist Barry White. Marcus leaned in eagerly. She was my wife, Marcus said. Elena Sterling lived a lie for 3 years. Barry didn't reach for a pen. He just sipped his beer. I know, Barry said. He slid a newspaper across the table. The price of freedom. Elena Sterling donates $100 million to domestic abuse charities. She beat you to it, Barry said. You're the villain. Twitter loves a comeback queen and hates a man who fumbled $42 billion. Arthur put his head in his hands. I can't run your story, Barry added. Nobody cares. He walked away. Arthur followed soon after. I'm dropping you as a client, he said quietly. I need to save my career. Marcus was alone. That night, Marcus slept on the office couch. By Thursday morning, half his staff didn't show up. The launch party for Vance AI was 2 days away. He had maxed out every credit card to keep the venue. In the server room, panic took hold. The latency is spiking. Why isn't the system responding? The lead developer, David, looked exhausted. I told you, the architecture is unstable. Then fix it, Marcus shouted. I didn't write the core algorithm. Marcus froze. What? David pulled up the commit logs. Admin EV, he said. That's who wrote it. Every night from your home IP. The memories crashed in. Elena typing late at night, closing the laptop when he entered. She wrote it, Marcus whispered. And now the license is expired. They belong to Sterling Global. The room spun. She hadn't just taken the money. She'd taken the mind of the company. Jessica texted him an hour later. Hey babe, caterers canceled. Payment declined. Also, I think we should see other people. My mom says you're bad for my aura. Marcus dropped the phone. There was only one place left to go. He had to beg. He drove to the Sterling estate in the rain, tires screaming across wet asphalt. The gates loomed massive and guarded, floodlights blazing. Bentleys and Rolls-Royces lined the driveway. I need to see Eleanor, Marcus shouted at the guard. I'm her husband. You're not on the list, the guard replied. Marcus jumped out of the car. I built that company. A calm voice cut through the chaos. Marcus. Sebastian stepped forward, umbrella in hand. She has granted you 2 minutes. Come. Marcus stood in the glass-walled conservatory, drenched from the storm. Exotic orchids surrounded him, mist curling in the air. Through the rain-streaked windows, the party went on. Laughter, string quartets, sparkling champagne. And there she was, Elena.
She stepped in, breathtaking in midnight blue silk. Diamonds glittered at her neck and ears. Her hair fell in soft waves, but it was her eyes that froze him. Clear, sharp, unyielding. 10 feet away, flanked by bodyguards, she didn't offer him comfort or welcome. She offered judgment. "You have mud on my floor, Marcus," she said coolly. He fell to his knees, soaked and humiliated. "Elena, please, I know I was wrong. I know the code, I know the company. I need you back. We can be partners." She tilted her head, examining him like a fascinating insect. "You don't love me. You loved the way I made your life easy. You loved that I fixed your code, cleaned your house, absorbed your temper so you could feel big. Partners? I don't partner with employees or liabilities." Marcus's anger flared, masking terror. "I built advanced tech. I grinded for years while you stayed home. I'm the face, the name on the building, the magazine covers. You can't rewrite history." She sipped water calmly. "Let's review history. Who funded the patents? Who co-signed the lease when your credit was 580? Who quietly transferred funds from a Swiss trust so your angel investor would invest? That was me." He froze. Memories of late-night typing, organizing files, secretly saving his failing company all clicked. He had been a puppet, unaware. "I gave you the keys to the kingdom," she said softly, "and you used them to lock me out." Marcus sneered. "So what? Vance Tech is mine. The IP, the code, it's mine." She laughed, sharp, cold. "The code is garbage without me. 4 hours every night for 2 years fixing your syntax errors. Stop me and the system degrades, but it doesn't matter anymore." Sebastian stepped forward, placing a leather folder on the table. "At 7:45 tonight, the board executed a distressed asset acquisition. We own your debt. All collateral is seized. Servers, office lease, chairs, coffee machine, brand name, intellectual property." Marcus felt the room spin. "You can't. This is millions." "I can, and I did." She opened the folder, revealing a termination notice. "Vance Tech will be dissolved tomorrow. The servers wiped. Your legacy erased." The brutality crushed him. Every sleepless night, every proud moment, it meant nothing. "But I'm not a monster," she continued, voice calm. "I know you have debts, no home. Here's a lifeline." She tapped the document in the folder. "Sign this NDA. Never mention my name, the Sterling name, or our marriage. Leave Seattle for 10 years. Marcus shook. "And the severance?" She tossed him a look like ice. $100,000. Enough to move to Ohio, rent a small apartment, find a job in IT support, and maybe treat someone better than you treated the woman who gave you the world. She dropped a gold fountain pen on the table. The clatter echoed through the silent conservatory. Marcus had no choice. Hands shaking, he picked it up. Scritch, scratch. He signed. Marcus Vance. The pen went back on the table. She didn't take it. She only pointed to the door. "Sebastian has your check. Goodbye, Marcus." He tried one last time. "Ellie." "She doesn't exist," Elena said. "Leave." Marcus walked out. Rain slapped his face. Sebastian handed him the plain blank envelope with the severance check. His Porsche? Gone. Company car? Sold. The Honda Civic? Impounded. He looked back at the estate. Inside, Elena joined the gala, laughing, radiant, powerful, free. She didn't look back. Inside the conservatory, the string quartet swelled. Elena raised a glass of vintage champagne. The last 3 years of bitterness, humiliation, and invisibility evaporated. "I'm finally myself," she said, turning to Sebastian. "Shall we go inside, madam?" he asked. She smiled. "I have an empire to run." Marcus thought she was no more than a background character. He mistook her silence for weakness, her kindness for stupidity. But the quietest person in the room often holds all the cards. Elena didn't just leave, she ascended. True power is what you do when pushed too far, not how loudly you shout. Marcus walked away with a check and a lesson. Elena walked away with her dignity and the last laugh.